Previously in our story, a new drug called Stardust has been making waves in the hunter community, allowing them to grow stronger without any known side effects. However, B-rank hunter Kim Sung-soo expressed concerns, especially after hearing that the Hunter Association might ban its usage. Before the discussion could go further, an unexpected visitor arrived, the Apostle of Itarim. Demanding ownership of a newly appeared gate, the Apostle revealed his terrifying power, using mind control to bend all the Stardust users to his will. Kim Sung-soo, unaffected, confronted him but was swiftly cut down in a gruesome display of power. With no one left to resist, the Apostle erased any witness's memories and moved on to his next experiment. In a dungeon, he captured a monstrous refugee from the dimensional cracks, implanting a mysterious stone in its eye and unleashing it to wreak havoc, all in pursuit of his creator's will. What is the Apostle truly after, and how will this affect the world? Stay tuned to find out. Chapter 31 begins with the scene of an airport, where some of the hunters from the Hunters Association are standing watch as a car pulls over next to them. From the car, a man in a black suit comes out, and looking at the situation in front of him, he comments that this looks dangerous. As he approaches the problem, we see a massive red gate that had appeared in the location. As the man gets closer, he senses the overwhelming mana being emitted from the gate and concludes that this dungeon will break soon if the boss isn't dealt with, which will cause massive damage to the airport. As those hunters turn to look back, we see that they were under the control of the Apostle of Itarim, and behind them was the Apostle himself, observing the scene. The man in black informs him that they will report to the Hunters Association that there is no problem with this gate, as per his instructions. Hearing that, the Apostle remained silent and looked at the gate, waiting for it to break. Eventually, a dungeon break occurs, and monstrous figures slowly start to emerge from it. Looking at the carnage that is about to happen, the Apostle starts to think that creations are beings that were created to fulfill their creator's will. If the creator bemoaned boredom, they held battles against each other. If their creator wished for anything, they presented it to them by any means necessary because that is the reason they existed. However, one day their master spoke of a world where one of his kin had died. He handed them a powerful artifact and instructed them to take this and deliver to him the ownership of that world that is now without a master. Following his orders, all the armies of that world gathered around to embark on a crusade for the world without a master. However, an unimaginable amount of energy was needed in order to transport numerous soldiers across dimensions, and to make matters worse, the dimensional passage became narrower the more energy one had, so the army spent eons in it. However, unyielding, the army eventually arrived at the world without a master. But there, they encountered something unexpected, an enormous darkness that stood in their path. It was an endless abyss of darkness that engulfed the whole army of the Creator in its shadow. That is when the sky tore open, and the army of the Creator sensed an overwhelming power that was coming straight towards them. Eventually, the army of the shadow appeared from the torn sky, and both sides clashed in a gruesome battle. However, the darkness that stood in their path, and each and every one of the beings in his legion, possessed immense power that far surpassed their own. But still, that was not the only terrible aspect of the darkness. Had a soldier of the Creator fallen whilst fighting against the darkness, it became corrupted and turned against their own allies. So as the battle continued and casualties increased, the power of the darkness only increased. Their armies were at a disadvantage, and the war that started in the world without a master was soon pushed to an outside dimension. As their armies fell into despair, being unable to defeat the darkness, the envoy of the Creator, Teal, raised a suggestion. He told them that just as in the past it was difficult for them to pass between dimensions, the darkness has also left the world without a master and will not be able to easily return due to his tremendous mana. He told them that he did not detect any mana from the life forms of the world without a master, so if they use the mist burn, they should be able to conquer it from within. These mist burns were the weakest believers of the Creator. With their minds crumbling as they were set alight by the holy fire and their powers weak, their explosive evangelization was critical to beings without mana. The army deemed that if their faith spread to the world without a master and the number of believers increased, they would be able to manifest the sanctuary and eventually a miracle. So they wholeheartedly agreed to Teal's strategy. After which, Teal immediately used his ability to split his power and abilities into 5 pieces, and the weakest of those pieces took the embers of the mist burn and headed to the world without a master. Just as planned, the feeble fragment wasn't detected by the darkness, and it succeeded in infiltrating the world without a master. However, the first fragment that arrived at the world without a master encountered an unexpected variable, as the life forms supposedly devoid of mana in this world had somehow acquired mana. Afterwards, it came to realize that mana was born in this world alongside an incident called the Cataclysm. So the first fragment decided to wait for the other fragments, and it successfully fused with the second fragment. The story shifts back to the present, and we see the Apostle in his thoughts, thinking that such a convenient change happened in the midst of their war and wondering if this must have been someone's design. He thinks that there must not be any more disruptions to the plan, so he needs to understand the pinnacle of the beings called hunters, those among them who possess mana, in order to accomplish his mission as a fragment of Teal. As he was thinking over everything, some of the humans in the area that were awakened felt something powerful approaching them. Before they could react, the place fills up with a massive explosion, and everyone starts to run to save their lives as they see a swarm of goblins being led by a massive orc coming straight towards them. The creatures stop to survey their surroundings and see the humans screaming and running away. By the time humans realized that a dungeon break had occurred, it was already too late, and the creatures started to attack all of them. Looking at the situation, some of the hunters that were present in the area rushed in to try and save everyone, while the Apostle thought that now he just needed to wait for a high-ranking hunter to appear and hoped that an S-rank hunter comes to take out these creatures. As he needs to confirm the skills of such powerful individuals, he turns towards the few hunters that were present in the area, and seeing them panicking, he thinks that all of them are users of star powder, which was created after melting the faith of Mistburn. While the minuscule amount of faith accumulating within their bodies usually doesn't have much of an effect, but once their faith is magnified by Teal's ability, all of them become puppets that would follow any command given to them by Teal. After taking over their minds, the Apostle orders them to leave, as they were disturbing him in his research. With no one left to save the civilians, the monsters started to take out everyone present in the airport, and the Apostle sees a female being attacked in front of him. In her final moments, she calls out for help, but it was already too late. Seeing her lifeless body in front of him, the Apostle thought that the creations exist for their creator, so he believed that the sole reason for life to exist was to fulfill the will of its creator. He wonders why humans bear desire. They possess the desires that only their creator may have, and wonders if these weak, feeble humans are higher beings than them. The scene shifts to another person who had arrived at the location. After seeing the situation in front of him, he concludes that a dungeon break occurred here and wonders what the hell is going on. The scene shifts to the panicking civilians desperately trying to save their lives. Seeing a man on the ground, the massive monster prepares to finish him off while the man screams for help. But just as he was about to crush the man with his club, our hero appears and drives his knee into the attacker's mouth with powerful force, caving in his face. After that, he turns towards the man, instructing him to run while he stops the magic beasts rampaging through the airport. His strength caught the attention of the Apostle, who stares at him with astonishment and sees all the monsters being brutally taken out by the hands of our hero. But what surprised him the most was this person's appearance, as he recalled Lee Min-sung's words about the appearance of a masked hunter who destroyed their factory and also took out Brokey. He wonders if this person could be the one whom Lee Min-sung had mentioned. The scene shifts to the massacre of the monsters as they brutally took out the humans in their path. Seeing the humans fleeing, the creatures started to get more excited, and just as they were about to take out the remaining humans, a flash of blue light emerges and takes out all of them with ease. After taking them out, our hero was wondering what was going on, as there was no way that the Hunter Association would leave a dangerous gate in a crowded area unattended till a dungeon break occurred. He thought that, for now, evacuating people comes first and failed to realize that he was being watched. Scanning his body, the Apostle found out that there is no trace of the Mistburn faith in this person's body and realizes that this masked hunter hadn't used star powder. Despite that, his mana is the same as Lee Min-sung's and could even be a bit stronger. But as he was thinking that, he sees something even more shocking as Suho uses his shadow extraction on the defeated enemies, and in the next second, 3 massive creatures appeared in front of him, to whom he instructs to go and help the people who couldn't evacuate. Seeing this sight, the apostle was completely stunned. As he recalled his memories, he thought that this person possessed the same darkness as the one they had fought against. He wonders, how can this human possess such authority? And thinks if that human is related to the darkness somehow. If so, all his actions make sense, as he attacked the Hyena Guild and the Star Powder Factory in order to sabotage their plan. As he was in his thoughts, Suho notices his presence and turns to look at him. But the apostle tries to hide his face, thinking that he must hide his presence from him for now, as they can't afford to reveal their identity to that man. As he was in his thoughts, he failed to realize a truck-kun was coming straight towards him to isekai him to another world, and in the next second, the room fills up with a massive explosion, with chunks of debris and glass flying everywhere. But as the dust settles, we see the apostle, who was standing there stunned, as Suho had just saved his life. Suho wonders where that truck came from and asks the kid if he was all right. But as he was doing that, something catches his eye, and he gets serious, as in front of him was a massive monster with the face of a bull staring right at him. The creature was pissed, and it lets out a loud roar, seeing that it wasn't able to take them out. Meanwhile, Suho was wondering if this thing could be the boss of the magic beast roaming around the airport, and hears Baru telling him that he can sense the energy of the Itarim from that beast. Hearing that, Suho wonders if this dungeon break might be related to the Itarim and its apostle. As they were discussing that, Baru senses something behind them and turns to see what that was. But seeing that there was no time to linger, he turns back and wonders if he was mistaken. By that time, the creature was ready to strike, and seeing it preparing to attack, Suho also got ready to fight back and dumped all his acquired points while fighting the boss in the pyramid into strength. After that, both of their fists collided, creating shockwaves around them. Both of them seemed equally matched in strength, and seeing him taking on the creature, the apostle started to wonder, why did he save his life? He realizes that he still believes that he is a young human child. Looking at Suho fight the dungeon boss, the apostle realizes that this person may be able to use the authority of the darkness, but he is incomparably weaker compared to the darkness itself. However, he shows concern, as his potential is unknown. He thinks that he was fortunate to meet this person here, as he must eliminate him while he is still weak. As he was preparing to take him out, he was stopped by a voice approaching them, saying that he was late. After that, the person started to manifest a fireball in his hand, saying that he will finish this quickly. As he raises his hand, the room starts to get filled up with many small fireballs, surprising everyone, including the apostle. Meanwhile, Suho wonders what was going on and where these fireballs were coming from. Eventually, the whole room gets filled up with those balls, catching the attention of all the monsters present in the room. We see that this person was none other than our S-rank hunter, Choi Jong-in. As he closes his fist, all the fireballs start to rain down on all the monsters in the room, and the room gets filled up with their screams of agony. Meanwhile, Suho wondered what was going on. Where did these orbs of fire appear from? And how were they attacking these creatures? He looked around him in astonishment as he realizes that this person eliminated all those magic beasts in an instant. Looking at the one responsible, he thinks that this is a hunter who can control flames and wonders if he could be the S-rank hunter Choi Jong-in. As he was distracted by that, he failed to notice the boss, who was still alive and was getting back up on his feet. Seeing this, Choi prepared to use more power to take the thing out. As he does that, a bow and arrow made out of fire manifest in his hands. Seeing him preparing to attack, the thing leaps towards him, and just as it was about to strike Choi down, he shoots the arrow at the creature. The attack was so overwhelmingly powerful that the massive body of the monster gets launched away into the air, breaking through the ceiling of the building and disappears into the sky. After that powerful attack, the whole place falls silent, and Choi prepares to wrap things up and leave. But just as he was about to do that, the surviving people approach him, thanking him for saving their lives and commenting that, as expected, he is the ultimate hunter. After that, Choi started to wonder what happened to that kid who was standing here just now. We see Suho hiding from Choi to not attract attention toward himself, while Choi thinks that even the hunter who fought here till he appeared ran away, leaving behind all the credit to him. Seeing that all the monsters were taken care of, Suho thanks his luck that Hunter Choi arrived in time and thinks he should leave, as if Choi pokes around to find his identity, things will get complicated. He thinks that the Itarim have acted in secret till now and wonders, why would they attack civilians in a crowded place like this? The story fast forwards, and we see the apostle in his building, thinking about the day's events. He looks out the building in silence, and as he was doing that, a portal started to appear behind him. Seeing the thing, he greets the entity, saying that it finally arrived and calls it the third fragment. After that, he tells the third fragment that he will give him a brief summary before handing him this body. He tells the thing that there exist humans among the life forms of this world, and there are those among them who possess mana, known as hunters. He urges the fragment that it must especially be cautious of those they call S-rank hunters with immense amounts of mana. Furthermore, there exists another variable that must be eliminated. The fragment tells him that it was enough information as it will read the memories that he will inherit after claiming the body and asks him to let him absorb him as planned, as he had accomplished his duties. Feeling slight hesitation in him, the third fragment asks if there was a problem, to which the second fragment tells him no, while thinking that he feels a lingering attachment with himself, who will disappear in this world and become overridden by a new persona. But he prepares to merge with the fragment while thinking that it cannot be helped, as there is nothing that can be prioritized over the will of his creator. As he absorbs the third fragment, the whole place fills up with bright light, and the room fills up with dust. As it slowly started to go away, we see the child, who had grown significantly after being merged with the third fragment. Recalling his memories, he thinks that this was the variable that the second mentioned. Who would have thought that a being who can use the exact same authority as the darkness exists in this world? He thinks that the second's final decision was wrong, as it would be a waste to eliminate him. If they can make him their believer, they will also gain the ability to command the dead. The scene shifts back to Suho's apartment, and we see him sitting on his couch, tired from all the fighting in the airport. Seeing him in this state, Baru asks if he was all right, as he looked exhausted, to which Suho tells him his uncle was lecturing him forever, saying that protecting the earth is great, but his own safety comes first. If something bad happens to him, how will he ever face his parents? Suho wonders if his mom and dad would worry about him as much as he did. Thinking that he needs to find them, he gets up and prepares to head to the shadow dungeon, to which Baru suggests that it would be better for him to rest up a little before going anywhere. Suho tells him he can rest later, as he hasn't done his daily quest for today because he arrived in a rush and can't afford to miss today's rewards. Seeing him so excited about that, Baru gets worried, thinking that he might really be addicted to leveling up. The story shifts to the shadow dungeon, and we see Suho's surprised face as he wonders what was going on. In front of him was a notification telling him that he has eliminated all the otherworldly inhabitants living in the shadow dungeon, and his daily quest has ended. He turns towards his team and asks what was going on here, and if they had anything to do with this. Essel explains to him that Amit hunted down all the goblins in the shadow dungeon in just one night, and hears him saying that he only wiped out the subordinates of that vile Tarnak that he saw near their dwelling. He tells them he kept his promise and didn't kill any humans. Hearing him say that, Suho wonders what he is supposed to do now that all the goblins in the shadow dungeon were dead, as without the daily quests, his growth will stop. Seeing him in this state, Amit tells him if he desires growth, he can train him. Suho asks how he was going to do that, and hears him saying that he wasn't born a powerful being either, and knows the methods of training very well. He says that he will make him formidable. As soon as he says those words, a notification opens up in front of Suho, stating that train to become a formidable combatant has arrived and asks if he wishes to accept. He accepts the quest and sees the quest conditions, that he has to do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and run for 10 kilometers. He asks Amit if this was the method he was suggesting, and hears him saying that this alone won't suffice as training. So, he'll have to do all that while carrying him on his back. That catches Suho completely off guard, and he asks how he is supposed to do all that while carrying him on his back, saying that he is huge, to which Amit agrees and says it would be hard for him to carry him with his size. He starts to change his body's shape while telling them that because his flesh had to go through a continuous cycle of destruction and regeneration by the hands of Tarnak, he gained the ability to control his body's shape. Seeing him do that, all of them get surprised. After a moment, they see Amit, who had completely changed and was now a lot smaller than before. He tells Suho that this size should be enough for his training. After which, they prepare to start, and Suho gets in position while thinking that though there's a condition to unlock his bond skill because of the power discrepancy between them, but a companion who gives him a quest might not be too bad on its own. As he was in his thoughts, Amit leaps on his back, and Suho gets crushed under his weight. Amit tells him that he forgot to mention this before, that he may have been able to reduce his size, but his weight remains unchanged. Suho tries to push himself up while thinking that he is supposed to do 100 push-ups like this, as he feels like his arms are going to break already. Seeing him struggling, Amit tells him it may be painful, but he needs to endure, as he knows no other method of training besides destruction and regeneration. The story shifts to a nearby field-type dungeon named Payu, where we see a star powder factory where mistburn were being used to create star powder. A man was seen observing everything. It was Lee Min-sung, who was asking a Vilgax-looking demonic creature standing behind him how long he had to keep up with this act, to which the entity tells him that he should consider this an honor to be able to join them in this deed. This thing's name is Demon Mormu, who is the overseer of the star powder factory. He reminds Lee Min-sung that he had saved both of their wretched lives. Hearing his words, Lee pauses for a bit and asks if he really called his life wretched. And before Demon Mormu can answer, Lee Min-sung slices the creature's tentacles off his face. After which, he asks the thing if it thinks that a lowly monster like him can evaluate his life, and asks if it wants to die. Seeing the weapon in his hands, the creature falls silent, after which Lee asks for the location of the apostle, and hears Mormu saying that the apostle was occupied. Lee informs him that Lim Tae-gyu is returning to Korea soon, so he needs to tell the apostle that he needs to keep his promise. After which, Mormu shows him concentrated star powder and asks why, despite receiving it, he hasn't used it. He tells Lee that the apostle is his savior, who appeared to him when he was cast into the dimensional rift after the Shadow Monarch destroyed the demon realm. Thanks to the mad blood poison the apostle crafted, he was able to spread star powder throughout the demon realm and bring about the destruction of the traitors called the REDICE clan. He tries to hand him the stone, saying that if he follows him and uses it, he will become far more powerful than he is right now and will certainly be able to defeat that man called Lim Tae-gyu himself. Lee gets annoyed and starts to leave, saying that he should stop acting like he knows anything about S-rank hunters. Even if he keeps talking like a cultist, it's no use. He will never use something like that. Hearing his answer, Mormu calls him a foolish human and comments that this is why he will always remain a failure. After that, Lee was seen exiting the building while thinking that he just needs to keep this up until that brat kills Lim Tae-gyu, after which he can report these idiots to the Hunters Association, who will deal with all of them accordingly. He thinks that he will return everything to the way it was, to his brilliant past self. As he leaves, another individual is seen looking at him from a distance. It was a female working for the association, informing the association chairman that she has confirmed that Lee Min-sung has left the field-type dungeon in Payu. She tells him that this seems to be the place where the star powder is being made. Hearing that, Chairman Wu tells her she did a great job and instructs her to keep shadowing him. We are told that this female is Hunter Baek Mi-ho, an A-rank hunter and the daughter of Baek Yun-ho. After the call, we see Hunter Choi, who was also present in the room, commenting that it seems like Lee Min-sung is finally getting caught. He informs Wu that during the recent dungeon break incident at the airport, all the members of the association who were managing that gate testified that they had lost their memories at the same time. And these were all the hunters who had ingested star powder. He hands him some papers, saying that hunters behaving unusually were also observed in other places. The common trait between them is that they had all taken star powder before. Hearing everything, Wu tells Choi that now that they have their suspicions, the Hunters Association will formally announce a ban on star powder, to which Choi asks what he was going to do about Lee Min-sung and hears him saying that they will get him along with the masterminds behind him. Choi tells him that his hunters will join him. After he leaves, Wu starts to think about Suho. He received word from President Jinho that Suho has safely returned and thinks that if Suho happens to be a hunter who can level up like Hunter Sung JinWoo, it's highly likely that he'll be ensnared by the system just like Hunter Sung JinWoo was. He thinks to JinWoo that he will do his best to help his son. The story shifts to Suho, who was training in the Shadow Dungeon. Because of that intense training, both of his arms were completely damaged. but somehow he managed to finish 100 push-ups with Amit on his back. Seeing him in this state, Amit asks if he was at his limit and reminds him that he only completed the push-ups. While everyone else was freaking out seeing the state he was in, Baru loses it and tells Amit that this training is cancelled. As he was doing that, Suho was reaching for the system's shop and purchasing something. Seeing him do that, all of them were stunned as they hear him saying that he was looking for a better way to get stronger before facing Lee Min-sung. He asks Amit if he has 3 more reps left. Seeing his determination, Amit gets impressed and sees him back on his feet, saying that they should continue training to become a formidable combatant. Fast forward. Essel and Baru were seen astonished, seeing Suho train as they saw Amit sitting on him and the ground underneath them being shattered by his weight. While Suho continued to train, he had merged with Gray to withstand the intense training, and the ground was littered with empty potion bottles. Fast forward. After that intense set, he was seen running with Amit on his shoulders, and after another round of consuming potions, he started to run but ended up breaking his leg in the process. Seeing him in this state, Amit started to think that he was only barely able to hold on using his skills for now, but gets impressed that he can withstand this training. He thinks that Suho constantly searches for a way without giving up and might someday become a being who can surpass Tarnak or the other monarchs. After a couple of hours, both Suho and Gray were seen on the ground, completely pale after the excruciating training, and a notification appears congratulating Suho for completing his daily quest and informing him that he has received a reward. Amit, seeing that he can't go anymore for today, tells him today's training has ended. Hearing that, Suho comments that it was hellish training, but he got his daily quest rewards, and his strength and resilience skills also leveled up. Thinking that this training was working for him, he tells Amit that he'll leave it up to him for tomorrow's training as well. The story shifts to Suho's apartment, where we see him sleeping after an exhausting training day while Baru looks concerned about him. Seeing that he collapsed the moment he arrived back home, he tells Suho that he did a great job today. After that, he turned on the television, thinking that since he had some time to himself, he should go ahead and enjoy it. He opened the news and was surprised to see what was on it. He heard that the Hunters Association had announced a regulation of field-type dungeons after the recent airport dungeon break incident. In contrast to the dungeons within gates, in field-type dungeons, hunters can periodically procure materials from magic beasts and essence stones, granting a huge benefit to the private guilds that have obtained ownership of these dungeons. However, the Hunters Association has notified the Reaper Guild and the other private guilds possessing large amounts of field-type dungeons to take action after this incident swiftly. The scene shifts, and we see Lee reading about this news and asking what was going on. In front of him were men from the Hunters Association who were informing him that the Reaper Guild owns too many field-type dungeons. These field-type dungeons may inflict large amounts of damage on the public, and they must be addressed. He goes on and tells him that his superiors in the Hunters Association have ordered the clearance of the B-rank field-type dungeon under the ownership of the Reaper Guild, named Payu Field. Furthermore, their superiors noted that Lee hasn't been acting as a hunter for over half a year. To maintain his hunter license, they would like him to participate in the subjugation of the Payu Field. Hearing everything, Lee thinks that the association chairman, Wu Jinchul, did this to single him out and thinks that of all the places, it had to be Payu Field, the place with the largest factory. He thinks he needs to refuse this offer, even if it means siding against the association. But before he could answer, he hears a voice accepting the proposal from the association. It was the S-rank hunter and the guild master of the Reaper Guild, Lim Tae-gyu, who was telling Lee that they must follow what the Hunters Association has to say. Seeing him there, Lee started to freak out and thinks that this must be the reason that he returned so quickly from his overseas deployment. It was all just to sabotage him. Hearing their answer, the men start to leave, saying that the Hunters Association will dispatch some hunters to join them in the subjugation of Payu Field and hope that they will form a party with them. After they leave, Lee asks Lim what he is thinking, accepting their demands, and asks if he knows how much each field-type dungeon is worth. He hears him asking if he really believes that the Hunters Association aims to remove the field-type dungeons and tells him that the association must have caught on to what he was secretly doing. He reminds him what he told him in the past, not to underestimate the association. He tells Lee that not only did he ignore his warning, but he dared to use his guild members however he wanted while he was gone. And with rage in his eyes, He asks him how long he will think of him as his cab driver who cleaned up behind him. Sensing his mana spreading all around him, Lee gets terrified, but before they could continue the talk, Lim's phone starts to ring. He reads the mail from their scout and informs Lee that a new S-rank hunter has appeared in Korea, so he'll be heading to the association. So, he needs to prepare the contract's pay in the meantime. And before leaving, he tells Minsung that they might still be able to turn things around, so they should try their best to fix this mess. After a while, Lee sits there in silence. After hearing the news, he was enraged, thinking that another S-rank appeared. He thinks all these S-rank hunters act so proud when all they've done is get lucky and wonders when that alien brat is going to grow up after merging with that fragment. He thinks to himself that he needs to hurry up and take out Lim Tae-gyu. As he was in his thoughts, his phone started to ring. He checks to see who it was, and a smirk forms on his face when he sees what was on the screen. He starts to laugh, thinking that he was up to something interesting, as on the screen was the apostle who had now merged with another fragment and was much more mature than before. The story shifts to the association building, where the apostle had arrived and was escorted by the association officials. Seeing him there, all the recruiters realize that this is the new S-rank hunter of Korea. They try to approach him to scout him to their guild, but before they could do that, another person appears who catches his attention. He turns to see who it was and hears the man congratulating him on becoming a new S-rank hunter of Korea and calling him Hunter Park Dojin. It was Hunter Choi from the Hunters Guild, who, after looking at Park Dojin, notices something. He asks if they had met before somewhere, as he feels like he has seen him before. Park Dojin tells him it was their first meeting. Hearing that, Choi gets straight to the point and tells him he was here to scout him to the Hunters Guild, to which Park Dojin thanks him for the offer and informs him that he has already considered another guild, so joining them would be difficult. As he points at the person, a man was seen running inside the building, and as all of them turn to see who it was, they see Hunter Lim of the Reapers Guild. Seeing the apostle pointing at him, he wonders what was going on. The story fast-forwards a week later to the Payu field, and we see Hunter Park Miho from the White Tigers Guild telling someone that she'll be aiding in the Payu field subjugation as requested by the Hunters Association. In front of her was Hunter Lee Min-sung, who greets her and tells her that she was going through a lot all because of this field dungeon, to which she tells him it was nothing. She was just following orders and doing her work while thinking, as expected of an actor. Seeing him so cheerful around everyone, she thinks that acting all kind when his heart is completely pitch black. In any case, everything happening inside Payu Field will come to light today, as she will tear that mask off his face with her own hands. As for the potential variable, it would be the S-rank who recently joined the Reaper Guild, Hunter Park Dojin. After some time, all of them prepare to enter the dungeon, and Hunter Park Miho thinks that just in case something unexpected happens, she brought that. As they started to enter the dungeon, the mining team also rushed in to follow all of them. And with that team, we see Suho, who had also come to enter the dungeon. And that is the end of this video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you won't miss any future updates.